Sorry, guys. We could only get Rosberg.
These are billionaires throwing money at each other, like having a money fight.
Oh, fucking hell. We're literally making everything up.
He's much uglier than you are. Don't sell yourself short.
All things that could happen, but probably won't.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Idiots of F1 podcast, the pod where three everyday F1 fans who are united by an amateurish and mostly uneducated love for F1 are on a mission to obnoxiously share their insights and opinions with anyone and everyone that will listen. With next to no strategic or technical experience, each show will digest the latest on and off track news, controversy, characters and gossip in a bid to help break down the complexities and barriers of one of the world's most entertaining sports. And with that, returning for the third time now, proof of concept if ever I've seen it, are your wonderful idiots, Digby and Ev. Digby, here we are again, only a week later. How's it, bud?
Hi. Very good, very good. I had a great time watching that race on Sunday night.
Yeah, it was certainly what everyone's been hanging out for. And Ev, our barometer of appropriateness. Lovely to see your face again. There he is. Are you well, mate? I feel like that's a loaded question. Are you well? Yeah, Ev's a bit under the weather today, so just hang in there with us as we go. But all things considered, mate, you good?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. All right, well, we officially kicked off everything last week when we dropped the very first episodes of Idiots of F1. And off the back of what has been, I think it's fair to say, a great response, lads, we're now back to cover off all things season opener in Bahrain and predominantly what to expect from round 2 in Saudi Arabia in just a couple of days. We'll also see the return of Haas, you've been paying attention. Woo! Perhaps one of the favourites, I think, that's coming back through the feedback. Oli's odds and what's Vertsappening. And in another first, keep your ear out for Twat of the Week, where we all but can't help ourselves call out some of the Twitter wannabe heroes. But before we get stuck in, Digz, Ev, anything you guys are absolutely buzzing about and wanting to get stuck into today?
I'm looking forward to Twat of the Week because I often find people take Twitter far too seriously, and it can really, almost to a detrimental effect for some people. They feel, attacked personally. It can be very easy to feel attacked personally. Just reading someone's written word for some reason feels always stronger than.
There's a lot of fragility out there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like a Red Bull engine.
No.
And I think what we want to do with that is just to remind people these people are dickheads. They're twats. It's like, don't take them seriously. Block them if you want to. But a lot of these people are just trolling to get a rise out of you, for starters.
Yeah.
Some of them you can clearly see are just morons, and their opinion really doesn't mean anything.
But ours does.
Yeah. So we're here to just kind of lighten that up and just remind people that, just don't take Twitter opinions so seriously, and remember that, most normal people don't think like they do.
All right, well, look, let's get stuck in by talking about the weekend just gone. And I think it's fair to say, excitingly, and after it felt like a super, super long time between kind of end of season and start of season, even though it was probably the shortest on record, we kicked off 2022 last weekend with the launch of the season in Bahrain. And I don't think it disappointed. So from practice to qualifying through to race day, the reality is that no one really knew how it was all going to unfold the moment the race started. And in typical F1 fashion, it was again in the last lap that it resolved itself. But before we jump in and talk racing, Digz, can you just very quickly cover off how race results work for our new to F1 idiots out there and explain how mostly individuals and teams win points and what those points mean over the course of a year?
Yeah, right. So in a race, only the top 10 drivers actually score points. So that's 25 points for first, 18 for second, and then all the way down to 10th, they get 1 point. And the driver with the most accumulated points at the end of the season is the driver champion. However, you've got your teams consisting of 2 drivers, and you combine each driver's points throughout the year, which then decides the Constructors' Championship, and that's where all the money goes. So the better a constructed team does, say like McLaren, for instance, the more money they receive at the end of the year to improve their car and run their team.
The more wind tunnel testing time and stuff like that.
So when you're in the mid-pack like Haas, McLaren, well, usually in the mid, every point counts. It means a huge amount to that mid to low pack.
And Ev, do they, correct me if I'm wrong, but we touched on a little bit in the last pod about salary caps, but they budget according to where they think they will finish in constructors. Is that how it works? So if you miss out on a place or you gain a place that you weren't expecting, that can mean either a lot more money or a lot less than you had anticipated.
It's millions. It works out to be, tens of millions in some cases, depending on how far you drop or how high you climb. So it's a big deal. It really rubbed me the wrong way when Christian Horner gave up on the Constructors' Championship last year to focus on Max Verstappen winning
it. Yeah, good point.
And I get that you might want to focus on one thing, but you're kind of burning all the engineers, all your staff, just to appease one
ego.
And quite a hot-headed one at that.
By now, you're likely to have seen it, but if you haven't, you probably need to get out from under your fucking rock. For all the love of all things motorsport, this weekend's race saw the return of Ferrari, with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz taking a 1-2 finish. The first win for Ferrari in over 900 days. This was a huge result, and has probably since resulted somewhat in the Twitterati and the press jumping up and down about the return of the Scuderia. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so. Scuderia.
Yeah, cool.
Stable.
There you go. The stable. So, Ev, you've been following the sport for a very long time. You got Digby and I into it. How much does this mean for the sport of F1? How much does it mean for the team? And what does it mean for season 22?
It means a lot to F1 because Ferrari, unbeknownst to most people, they're pretty much the only team who get paid to be in Formula One.
And can we be quoted on that? Is that yeah, awesome.
I don't know what the figure is, but it's like hundreds of millions to do it.
When you say they get paid, do their costs get subsidized, or do they'll get an amount which it's not larger than their costs?
They just get an amount.
Okay.
Ferrari mean too much to F1 for Ferrari not to be there.
Yep.
So there've been times where there's been amendments being made to the rules and laws of the cars that Ferrari have vetoed because Ferrari don't like it. And, what they want, they get.
Yeah, it means a lot to F1. What about how important performance and results are to Ferrari? I mean, this would have to mean a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. To the whole crew, they've been on a bit of an upswing this last season. They were threatening to challenge for first place in several races. And they've kind of turned around. They had this real negative, gossipy engineering department. And so now that's gone. And they've got stable leadership in Binotto. They've got drivers who are likable, that the crews like themselves.
I love those guys.
It means a lot.
So what do we think then, looking at that 1-2 finish Ferrari? What about within the context of season 22? Is it too early to call?
Oh, first of all, people just got to chill out. I was listening to the BBC One podcast review of the race.
There you go. Look, we're promoting other podcasts here. So quid pro quo.
It's just this, the Sky Sports team and their review of the race, and you see it in all the post-race interviews. They're like, does this mean Ferrari are back? They're going to be top of the game? It's like, stop setting these teams up for failure. It's one fucking race.
But I guess that's the expectation, right? That's the expectation that maybe comes.
But they do. People love to do this in any sport. Someone has one good game, they're like, oh, he's back. It's all on. And so as soon as Ferrari now don't live up to that, everyone's going to be like, oh, what's happened to Ferrari? It's one race. We don't know. Things can change in 5, 10, 15 races, Like Mercedes might take 10 weeks to start finding their form and then obliterate the competition.
Yeah. Look, I think my perspective on looking back on it is, I hear where you're coming from. Obviously, there's a huge amount of excitement about the possibility of return, and there'd be a fair amount of, like Ev's just touched on, need for Ferrari to be at the top of their game, and to have 3 constructors kind of fighting it out for the championship is brilliant. But I think, to your point just then, Diggs, it's a big call when you've got the longest F1 season in history coming up to potentially be making bold claims about Ferrari taking out the championship. And I think...
And brand new cars, too.
Brand new cars.
Anything can happen with these cars.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I think it's fair to say that maybe Ferrari probably won because they were the first team to get the car working as best as possible for the first weekend.
Yeah.
So speaking of performance, and And I guess rounding out the podium was surprisingly Lewis Hamilton in third place. Now, I appreciate it sounds ridiculous to say surprisingly. However, the Mercedes team have looked in quite some trouble over the course of last week with performance issues. And the reality is that the Mercedes team should probably have been finishing thereabouts where they qualified. So, fifth or sixth? However, it was a complete capitulation from the Red Bulls as both cars in the final few laps literally died mid-lap. And after Red Bull sitting second and fourth respectively, with Verstappen within shot of first place throughout most of the race, the Honda-powered engines both gave up, resulting in having to retire both of those Red Bull cars.
Yeah.
So after all the talk and the speculation and the praise Red Bull had received before round one, the team and both drivers inevitably ended up with 0 points. So, mate, for me, that's the biggest surprise of the weekend. One in which Mercedes fans across the world are probably celebrating as karma. It's likely to be an incredibly frustrating and concerning for the Red Bull team. Ev, what actually happened?
I don't think they've announced. There's talk about the fuel pump may not have been correctly installed. There's talk about they're using new fuel this year. They're using E10, which is what we get at the same as what we get. At the
I
pump.
use E10.
Yeah, which is it's a pretty crappy sports fuel. There's not a lot of octane in that.
But it's not what we would be using out in our cars, is it?
Yeah.
It? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
They don't know how that fuel reacts when it's heated. So they were saying that by the end of the race, we don't know if you've got a low fuel tank, how does that E10 perform in like an empty tank that's overheating? Because there's a lot of sediment in E10. And so, if that clogs up that fuel pump or something, then you're doomed like Perez was, which is probably what happened to Perez.
Yep.
Whereas Max lost power steering.
And speaking of Max, Digz, throughout the race, you noticed something very different about him that we've not seen for a little while.
Let's not say it's different about him. Let's say it's been hidden for a while because he's been doing so well. Just what a bit of an asshole he is to his crew. I get issues with drivers being dickheads to their team. But there was one particular quote where he was complaining about the battery. He's like, "My car's losing battery," and
can you do it in the Dutch accent?
I'm losing battery. Copy, Max. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's not. And it's like, chill out, man. Like they can see, they've got the data. It's something else, and it's just like a bit. He was just angry. The difference between him having problems and some other drivers having car problems. I just think he loses his head very fast. He's too emotional as a driver. And I think that was always the big difference with him and Lewis. Lewis kept his cool more than Max. And you can see Leclerc, when they were fighting 1-2, Leclerc, very smart, very calm driver, would let Max pass at the right time just so he could get his DRS and take his position back. And I think Max, had he been ahead, would have been trying to stop him get in front of him the whole time in fear of losing his spot. And I thought that was really great by Leclerc.
And Ev, do you think that his reaction, now granted it's the heat of the moment and we all do and say dumb shit in the heat of the moment, but do you think, obviously I'm teasing this out a little bit, like, do you guys think that's an indication perhaps to the pressure Max was under? Do you think he would have been wanting to finish first more than usual so he could say, see, I am the best, I do deserve my crown as the world champion?
We talked about it last week, how by his, not his standards, but by, if you have his attitude, then the only place is first, and everything else, second is a failure.
Yeah.
So if he's not first, then he looks like an idiot.
If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, and that's such
And if he hasn't made any obvious mistakes on the racetrack, it's his team's fault, but he has to be careful. So he gets angry at the team, but he won't come out and blame the team necessarily.
So in terms of the rest of the top 10 from the weekend's race, it was so fascinating and actually probably a real nod to the unpredictability and openness of the season that's likely to come. Albeit importantly, fighting similar issues. George Russell finished just behind his teammate Lewis in fourth, and
thank God.
Yeah, I think, and all things considered, he'd have to be really relieved with that result, particularly after delivering what would have been seen as a real hard fail in qualifying.
And he was copping some shit too, like, well, not from his team, from the public. I was actually surprised how quick people have been to get angry. And I assume they're Bottas supporters, like ex-Mercedes Bottas fans. And when he qualified ninth, they kept bringing up that interview where he had crashed with Bottas. And it's like, Mercedes shouldn't be fighting for ninth. And they rip into him. It's like, if you're jumping into a brand new car, which both him and Lewis are struggling in, you can't kind of point your finger at
Well,
George.
yeah, that's right. But
It's disappointing, but give him a few races.
But look, I think it's obviously good that he finished just behind Lewis.
Very
Obviously,
lucky.
another thing to call out in the race results is the comeback kid that they're calling him, Kevin Magnussen. So unbelievably in a Haas has finished in 5th spot. So without glazing over this, guys, this is fucking massive.
It's awesome.
And there's a couple of things I want to touch on about Magnussen and Haas, and I'll find a way of weaving it in. But look, he'd been kicked out of the team for favour of a Russian oligarch's son. He got a call a week before the season started. He turned up the day before practice, and he turned in an incredible weekend. And importantly, his teammate Schumacher wasn't far off his first points finish ever. He got 11th spot, right? So echoing how far their car has actually come.
It's so good because it means that lull that they had has paid off, and all that Russian money that they used has come back, which is great.
Yeah. Well, actually, so
they've used all that Mazepin money just for Magnussen. That car single-handedly destroyed Magnussen's F1 career.
Yeah,
and also it has single-handedly reinvigorated his.
Well,
F1
look, they
career.
were
It's
the
great.
laughing stock of the F1 for a few years, and suddenly, they're a genuine midfield contender. Ev, the team made all the noise in the world last year about the fact that they were focusing and investing everything into their 22 car. They wrote off last season before it even started. Inevitably, and again, we touched on this in the pod last week, it would have resulted in a fair amount of pressure to see this team deliver. Is it fair to say they did?
Again, a long season. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing you want to see more than a likeable team do well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Gunter is quite well regarded and well loved, isn't he? So yeah, look, fair play, huge result. I don't think anybody would have expected it. We'll touch on Ollie's odds later, but clearly I never anticipated it. And
So I was going to say, it looks good for Ferrari engines too. It seems that the Ferrari engine has got the hold at the moment.
so amazing
After
shout out.
Bottas up there as well.
Yeah. So I heard a crazy stat, and Ev, correct me if I've got this wrong, but I believe that was it 4 of the top 6 cars were in fact powered by Ferrari. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. So typically, for a very long time, Ferrari engines have the highest horsepower and the highest top speed. But no team, including Ferrari, has been able to make a car that gets the benefit of it. And that's why they've always been struggling. So they can always make a good engine. And again, I don't know if the Mercedes is struggling with the E10 fuel, and Ferrari just isn't. I kind of have a resentment towards Red Bull because they don't serve anybody else.
Yeah. So do you want to just quickly explain that for the audience, like what you mean by that? Yeah.
So you've got the main cars like your Ferrari and Mercedes and Red Bull and Alpine. Yeah, Renault Alpine. They're the only ones who make engines for Formula One, which is a whole other issue. But when you have secondary teams, well, not secondary, but McLaren don't make an engine, for example. So they have a long-standing corporate relationship with Mercedes. So they buy their engines from Mercedes. So that means Mercedes has to build enough engines for themselves and everybody else they have to buy from. And if you, I think there's a maximum of something like 3 or 4 teams you can support before the next team coming along, which I think is Alpine. They only serve themselves. So if somebody else came along, then they would have to buy a Renault engine.
Well, and Red Bull were running Renault engines a couple of years ago, weren't they? I think it was Drive to Survive Season 1, which was all about that break of contract.
Yep. And so, and now it's Red Bull only serve themselves.
Honda's the engine, right? So does that mean they're not allowing other people to buy from Honda? They're like the exclusive purchaser? Is that part of their contract?
Honda are what do they call it? Like a title sponsor. So yeah, they're essentially the Honda Works team, I suppose you could say.
That's right.
But Red Bull are making the engine.
So yes, Red Bull bought the IP of the Honda engine when Honda bowed out. But Honda's still making them in their factory for Red Bull. They're just badging them as Red Bull engines.
I have another question about the McLarens. Does that mean the McLaren sports car that you see, doing loops around Manly at night time?
Yes.
Are they Mercedes engines in those cars?
There's an AMG Mercedes engines.
Wow. Okay, so speaking of Mercedes, 12th to 17th, which is effectively every position up to last on the basis that 3 cars had to retire, were all Mercedes-powered engines. That sounds like a big problem and something that I'm sure Mercedes is not used to, let alone wanting to become accustomed to.
I want to know what happened to McLaren. What? Because they're testing. I thought their testing was supposed to have gone really well. What the fuck happened to them?
Well, it didn't help that Ricciardo wasn't there. He had COVID. And then Ricciardo had this hydraulics problem that took like a whole day of practice to repair. So they've kind of stumbled out of the gate completely on the wrong foot. There's a thing in Formula One where drivers need luck. There's no other word for it. And there are drivers who get bad luck, like it's an infection, and they can't get rid of it.
I know what you mean. Like Lewis made his own luck on the weekend. He was driving very well, and when the time and Perez's engine, luckily for them, died, and Lewis just got to waltz on into that third place because he was doing a good enough job to be up there.
So look, just again for clarity for some of our new to the sport, we've covered off the idea of the differences between engine manufacturers, but behind 2 of those Mercedes-powered teams, there's McLaren, which Diggs you've just alluded to, but there's also Aston Martin. So, Lawrence Stroll, the owner of Aston Martin, is tipping we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
The Bond villain. He's a Bond villain.
Yeah, he's a Bond villain, right? He's wonderful. Him. I think you called out during the week, Diggs, of all people that you would have to like to have dinner with, he was one of them.
Yeah, because I feel like he likes to be involved with it. I feel like he's a guy that's always learning, and he's a very stern, direct guy. So he doesn't come across as an asshole. So
he's tipping in loads and loads of money, right? And we've also established there is no way that McLaren could be happy. And you would, and in fact, I saw stuff coming out of their socials on the weekend where you've got Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, recording videos with Daniel and Lando to apologise and say, we're working on. But these, McLaren were on the way up, and now suddenly they look like they're on the way down unbelievably quickly. The point being, Ev, is both for the reputation of Mercedes as a constructor, not just the team, but also all of these teams which are expecting to be, 3rd or 4th in Constructors' Championship. And how quickly can we expect to see these cars turn themselves around, or is this just something we have to get used to with this season?
Well, it might not be the engine. It could very well be the package that's around it.
Yep.
And this is a complete sea change for the aerodynamics package. And as for any sort of upgrades, there's an engine freeze, so you're not really going to see much of an upgrade in terms of bringing brand new engines. This is what happened when Ferrari kind of got stuck a couple of years ago when they were maybe caught out cheating.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, maybe could possibly have done things differently.
Yeah,
that could have led to
so when they were forced to not do that anymore, that whole package had way too much drag for the amount of power being generated without that resource. Yeah. So it's stuff like that. It's not necessary. And then that you're stuck with that engine. There's no real getting out of it.
So we're going to talk about Saudi Arabia this week's race week again, boys. In a little bit. Surely the reality is that expect to see the same problems to some extent, or expect to see performance issues from Mercedes-powered cars. Well, is that a fair comment?
Yep. Ev mentioned that the other day. They can't really make much of an improvement until they get back to England, which wouldn't be till after Australia, right, Ev?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So there's only so much they can do until then, so we'll probably see some consistent results over the next few weeks.
Lastly, a little bit of off-track stuff. We got a couple of comments during the week that we're like the Drive to Survive version of F1 podcast, which is an unbelievable compliment and actually exactly where we pitched ourselves at when we kind of...
That's exactly what I thought. We were going to be a hit around the world like Drive to Survive. That's what I thought.
Well, that's the aim of the game, right? So, and we know everyone loves talking about it. It's come out over the weekend that a few teams... drivers, etc., aren't happy with Drive to Survive, calling it out for somewhat doctoring the drama.
Yep.
Just want to get your guys' perspectives on that. Did you guys have the same feelings and impressions upon watching the show?
We talked about it last week, and we picked up on the Lando versus Ricciardo thing that was probably doctored. But honestly, the only rivalry they really pushed was Red Bull versus Mercedes, and we all watched that unfold last year, and I can't. If they've exaggerated that, it must be minor.
Yeah, I think there was talks about, and again, this is what you
Red
do.
Bull's the only one who's complained all week, really.
Yeah, okay. So is that all it was? It's just Red Bull whinging?
Well, they did come off looking, extremely defensive and quite arrogant.
Yeah. And petty.
Yeah, very petty.
Just like you thought they
insecure.
were all along, have.
Yeah, that's right.
So guys, so why wasn't Max in it? Why wasn't he part of the interviews?
Well, because he resents this idea that there's rivalries. And to be in his defense, there's footage of him and Ricciardo. Like, they hated each other because Ricciardo was out driving Verstappen and Verstappen wasn't happy. And that's why Ricciardo left, because he didn't want to be in number 2 to this little kind of squirt.
Which he is.
But they're good friends off the track.
Yeah,
I noticed that this week in general, there seems to be a lot more of a relaxed, calmer feel among the drivers, almost like they've gone out of their way to be friendlier so it makes Drive to Survive look more dramatic. Because over the last few years, I've felt a lot of that tension between the drivers, and suddenly they're all best friends this week.
Well, that's interesting.
A lot of that was Mazepin's fault. I mean, let's face it.
Is that maybe it's because it's only the first week and everyone wants to be besties again, and then maybe 6 weeks later everyone's going to fucking hate
that's
each
right.
other.
Well, can I throw a bit of I want to throw a bit of again, just to give everyone a little bit of insight to who we are as people. I'm a marketer. I spend a lot of my time and have spent part of my career in sports marketing. And I just want to ask you guys a quick question. I'm going to ask a question and load it up with statements. Like, I know Digz hates when I do, but I just want to get some stuff out here. Is it such a bad thing, right? So everything these guys are fucking whinging about, is it a bad thing? So just for interest of our listeners, and Ev and Digz, I know we've spoken about this a little bit, and in fact, Ev, you told me this. You go back 2016 when F1 was bought by Liberty Media. The understanding is that F1 really was struggling to engage younger audiences, and importantly, the US market. So when it was purchased, Liberty Media, the owner of F1, were adamant on becoming, for lack of a better word, a content company, right? And actually the birth of Drive to Survive, the idea was actually kind of in those early years, and we didn't see the first one till 2018. Have I got that right?
Yeah, something like that.
Start of 18, start of 19.
Yeah, that's right.
Start of... Yeah,
anyways, we've established that we're terrible at dates and specifics on this podcast.
Start of 2019.
You get the idea.
Start of 2019.
Right,
because I met Lewis the year before and I didn't really know who he was.
Oh, let's just drop that in there. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So look, since Drive to Survive has come out, and looking at the US market alone, there's been a 40% increase in US viewership. And the US Grand Prix in Austin, Texas last year was the most attended race ever. And excitingly, Miami now also has its own race, with the US now hosting 2 races a season. So amongst a whole bunch of other milestones for F1, it's fair to say that success has translated very much into dollars here. The valuation of F1 has gone from $8 billion to $13 billion in just 3 years. And teams now have also seen a significant influx of cash for some of the world's biggest brands. Drama makes good content makes good viewing. Good viewing introduces new audiences. And this is a vital formula that, albeit may upset some of the teams or individuals, the reality is it pays their fucking bills. So as a passionate sports marketer, all I can say is well done, F1, and get back in your box, everyone else.
Exactly. And you know what? drama makes you care more about the people on the track, and caring about the people on the track makes you care about the result more, regardless of how the race looks. I was a young pro wrestler fan, and that whole business is built around...
You're an old pro wrestler fan. What are you talking about, buddy?
That whole business is built around fake fighting, essentially. They already know who's going to win, but their job is to make you care and invest yourself in that competition. Yep. And this is what Drive to Survive did. It was taking these mid-teams that, as a punter, no one cared about. I didn't even know who they were. Suddenly I'm going in and yes, McLaren came 5th. That's amazing. That's the difference. And now you're getting these fringe fans, and that's what's making up those numbers.
But not to jump on subject of one, but Digz, you and I got into F1 predominantly because of Drive to Survive. And here we are, obnoxiously hosting
pretending
a podcast
we
and
know
investing a huge amount of time in doing this podcast. So,
before it came
pull your
along,
head in, Max.
It was a
fuck off, Max.
Before it came along, it was impenetrable for me to try to get anybody else excited about Formula One. It was impossible. You couldn't get it. I couldn't make you care because there was no narrative. Even though at the time, stuff like Alonso versus Hamilton. Vettel with 4 in a row at Red Bull. There were crazy shit going down the last 10 years.
It was a rich person sport, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was it was very much that. It'd be interesting to see where it goes from here if the only way is up.
Yeah.
And if you're a sports organization and you're not copying this model, you're an idiot.
Well, I think you're seeing a lot of that. The problem is that the quality of it is just shit. Before we get stuck into round 2, it's time for Haas, you been paying attention.
Hey.
Yay. Yeah, Digby's up and about because he's obviously grabbed the win last week.
100% so far. So.
Yeah. So, look, a reminder for those familiar with this and some guidance for our new listeners, our Idiots Quiz will frequent each episode where I'm going to throw to both Digz and Ev a number of questions, and across the entire season, keep tally of our episode winner. Come the end of the season, the loser will donate $500 to a charity of the winner's choice. And again, just a quick reminder, we're giving our fans the chance to get involved by either submitting questions or by getting on the show and representing either Digz or Evs for a round. If you think you've got what it takes, hit us up on the socials at Idiots of F1 across Insta, TikTok or Twitter, or visit idiotsof1.com and drop us a note and we'll get you on the show. So again, like I said, last week's inaugural quiz saw Digby take home the point, so it currently stands at 1-0. Ev, you got to get on the grid today, mate. Today we've got 6 questions based on racing last weekend. The first to buzz their buzzer will get a swing at the question. Get it wrong, as you know, a free hit will go to the other. Ev, can I hear your buzzer, please?
Digby.
Right, and just to confuse everyone again, Digby, can we have yours, mate?
I got a new one this week. It's Kevin Magnussen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to get that out quickly. All right, here we go. Question 1. Which driver dons the number 16 on their car? I can see you getting your phone out, Ev.
Deduct points immediately, or I get a free
Quick,
hit.
get in.
It's Kevin Magnussen. That's not my answer.
Digby.
No, that's
Charles
That's right. Sorry, that wasn't the answer to the question. That's your buzzer. Sorry, go.
Bullshit. It's
Kevin
Magnussen is my buzzer.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. What's your
Anyway,
answer?
I'll be honest, I wasn't going to guess Leclerc, so if that's correct, give him the point.
Wait, you weren't. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear Ev yell out Leclerc. Yeah.
Oh, is that correct?
Yeah, Leclerc's the answer. Yeah.
Good. That's some good Googling there, Ev.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well done.
It wasn't really a guess.
Yeah. Might have to come back to Michael Massey in the umpires box here to tell us if you get that point or not. All right, question 2. Which number cannot be used in the F1?
It's Kevin Magnussen. 13?
Ev?
Is it like 99 maybe? I don't know.
Wrong.
Is
So-
there some cultural...
Yeah, there's a story here, and I am going to quickly just give an overview of it because it's an important one. I was going to offer 2 bonus points if you got that right, and then we were able to explain why that number cannot be used. But it was actually retired after Jules Bianchi. Bianchi?
Ah, yeah,
Bianchi.
Bianchi.
It was actually retired after Jules Bianchi, who used the number, succumbed to injuries after his horrific crash in 2014. So that's why they retired the number.
What number was it again?
17.
17.
Yep. Yeah, which weirdly enough is actually the next number up on the previous question. Right, we've got an asterisk 1-0 to Ev so far. Question 3. How many F1 races has Charles Leclerc won in his career?
Digby.
Bearing in mind... yep.
Please don't let me interrupt you from finishing that.
I was going to say, bearing in mind that he's raced 81 Grand Prix.
Yeah,
How many
Digby.
has he won? Yeah, go.
1.
No, that's incorrect.
You're supposed to be our resident expert.
It's Kevin. No, it wasn't. It's Kevin Magnussen. 2.
It was 3, boys.
Damn it! I couldn't remember the third because he's won Monza. He won Monza.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Question 4.
What was his third win?
I don't know. Don't put me on the spot. I didn't write them down.
But 3 was the answer.
3's the answer. You do your own research. Question 4.
Here we go.
How many constructors' points has... Sorry, let me start that one again. Question 4. How many constructor points had Haas won in the last 2 seasons? So 2020 and 2021. Yes, Digby. So total points in the last 2 years, not including weekend just gone.
8.
Wrong. Ev?
2.
Oh, you were so close. It's actually 3. So
I
they
knew
got
they were crap. I knew it.
Yeah, so crap. They got 0 points in 2021.
last year.
So they got
Yeah, they got
nothing,
last year.
and then they got 3 in 2020. All right, question 5.
We have a score check.
Yeah, it's 1-0 to Ev with a big asterisk
I could have
against
given
it.
you a score check, buddy.
Yeah. Question 5. Which driver said this on his radio over the weekend? No, just fucking tell me what's wrong and I'll try
It's
to
Kevin
handle
Magnussen.
it. Oh.
Max Verstappen.
Yes, there you go. Digby's back in the game. All right, we're at 1-1.
Tiebreak.
One question to go. Last question. Here we are. Question 6. And this is actually about this week's upcoming race. Who won the last race in Saudi Arabia?
It's Kevin Magnussen.
Digby.
Bottas.
Wrong, Digby.
Damn
Ev?
He
Hamilton.
came. Oh no, he just
Yeah,
beat
there it
Ocon at
is.
the end.
Evan's brought it home. He's back in the game. It's 1-1. Right, so yeah, actually Lewis won that.
Lewis won, but Bottas
Yes.
got his 3rd over Ocon.
So that was
That's right, yeah.
that was 5th of December last year, and it's actually the first race in Saudi Arabia. All right,
Yeah,
so
I
there
like
you
when
go.
they switch it around.
Do you know what's really annoying? I knew the answer to that question, but because you asked it in the quiz, I was like, oh, it must not be the obvious answer. I think it is. I'm such a
It's always
moron.
the obvious answer. All right, very good. So there you go, 1-1. This is going to get really interesting over the season.
Mikey, no, Mikey, that was so not right.
Twats of the week.
Hoi.
Right, so as I mentioned, something new this week, gents. We've recently got ourselves up and running on Twitter, so at Idiots of F1 for anyone that's on there. Yeah, we're amassing followers at an astonishing rate. However, one thing that's become
We got
inevitably
4
clear...
followers, I think.
and that's one up from yesterday. One thing that's become inevitably clear, again, is just how toxic social media is, and for whatever reason, Twitter seems to take the cake. So we've had a lot of fun poking the bears on Twitter in the last couple of days, and we've genuinely been a little riled up by some. At least I feel I have, and Diggs, I know you have because you've kind of sent a few messages here or there. So moving forward, we're going to sprinkle the Twats of the Week segment throughout episodes, where we really just grab a few of those comments and we chat about them. And so starting with this beauty. So this was from Michael255469. And actually, to be completely honest, I think if you have to have a handle with that many numbers, you might as well just choose a fucking different name. But here it is, and I want to call this one out because we've spent a lot of time talking about this.
Is this Michael Italiano's Twitter handle?
No, yeah, Italiano.
Michael Italiano.
Yeah. For those wondering, that is Daniel Ricciardo's personal trainer, performance coach.
Put your hands together for Michael. Get it?
Yeah, Ev is adamant that that's a stripper's name. All right, so here's the tweet, gents. So Sky Sports F1 has become a joke. Naomi Schiff, who? Why can't women pundits commentate on their sports and men on theirs? She has she has never even driven in F1. So for context here...
Can I answer his question once?
Yeah, in a sec. But just for context for our listeners, Sky Sports has more officially introduced W Series driver Naomi Schiff onto their presentation and broadcast team over the weekend. And look, we were all incredibly impressed by Naomi. Smart, incredible point of view, and actually willing to ask the hard questions. Really does a phenomenal job. But of course, the keyboard warriors haven't been able to contain themselves. All the men's rights warriors are out and about. Whose experience is so poor now because their validation and their insecurities are questioned by having another well-qualified spokesperson.
There's just not enough old white men in F1 TV
that's
for them,
right.
I guess.
Yeah. And the best thing about it is the idiot couldn't even spell, right? So he's using there as in THERE instead of there. So, that I wanted to call him out because he's a flog. The EPL, the cricket, they've all got incredible women commentators. And even the Sky F1 team, have got some great talent in Natalie and Rachel. This is just another welcomed addition. So pull your fucking head in, Michael. 255.
Can I say something? I want to say something about this because F1 have done a great job with this because often, very quick, some sports programs, and this goes for the men they employ as well. They just they didn't just grab some chick and go, let's make it diversity. let's diversity content. And then she comes out, she's a bit, doesn't know what she's talking about. It happens in the NRL all the time. They just get the sports star that used to play and he's a shithouse commentator and I don't want to fucking listen to him. Or they fill the diversity quota with a girl who's just the host. She's not actually giving opinions. She's just the host for the sake of a host. The F1 have got someone who is a fantastic commentator. She is there talking with the boys, and I want to listen more to her than the other two. She's fast. She doesn't hesitate with what she has to say, and she's got a fantastic opinion and perspective of the sport. It doesn't matter if she hasn't driven F1. She's a fucking race car driver.
We highlighted our objective at the beginning of this podcast to get our very good friend, I use that term loosely, Karun on the show. But maybe, we'd take either Naomi or Karun. So if you're listening, which you might be, give us a shout because we want to get you on the show. Digz, you had a couple of tweets, mate. Do you want to just kind of shout these out for us?
So this first one I have to elaborate on because this is just highlighting the stupidity of most tweets on F1. So there was this photo of Lewis Hamilton at that fashion thing sitting next to someone. I think it was Z or Z. I don't know. It's just the letter Z. And he posted a tweet of him sitting next to this person. And there was a weird response like, does this mean Lewis is in support? Like, he doesn't care about the F1. He just wants to sit. He doesn't have time for testing. All stupid reactions like this. And this person's highlighted the stupidity. Breaking. Lewis Hamilton supports Russia for invading the Ukraine. He posted a tweet that he is happy to sit next to Z. That's the symbol on the Russian army on their vehicles. And he confirmed it by missing on the picture of all the F1 drivers with their protest against war, which means he's pro-Russian war. I was like, this is brilliant. I love it. It's so funny.
What else you got?
Okay, the other one is, this is another amazing Twitter handle. Capital D, lowercase b, 1995 F1. Could be a soccer fan, I'm not sure. Horner, in response to the FIA report, I don't believe the rules were not followed correctly. They were applied perhaps differently to how they'd been done before. That's basically the equivalent of someone who's just robbed a bank saying, hey, officer, I didn't rob the bank. I just withdrew money in a manner perhaps differently than had been done before.
That's a good one, though, right?
That was great. I love it. There was a few.
So actually, the twat of the week in that is Christian.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I got one more I just want to call out, and I think it's quite poignant to a lot of conversations we've had, and certainly seems to highlight a significant feeling around the F1 paddock. And when I say paddock, I don't mean the actual driver's paddock, but the social spheres and the public opinion. Jumpman44 tweeted, I wish my shit driving skills would make me a world champion. So I'm going to take a stab and guess that he's a Hamilton fan based on the number 44. And it's likely come off the back of the trending F1 XED, so fixed hashtag that was doing the rounds over the weekend, and it came out in readiness of the FIA report. However, before we do chat about that, I think it's actually just worth covering off a few things, and that perhaps Jumpman and the rest of the Twitterati need to get their heads around. Now, we can possibly come across as a little bit anti-Max. I think the point is that we don't actually have a favourite. We're not really leaning towards one or the other.
George is definitely my favourite. I'm definitely
yeah. Fair enough in that regard. But I think in terms of the Lewis-Max battle, I think it's probably people may have thought that we take one side over the other. But just to balance that ledger a little bit, I think there's no doubt about it that almost everyone is in agreement about that final race of last year and how it finished, and it wasn't right. Lewis should have won that race within that context. Inevitably, it would have resulted in him being crowned world champion because of his points. However, honestly, enough with this shit about Max being a shit driver.
Yeah.
Jumpman 44. Did you know that in all of last year, Max led more laps than all other races combined? Right? That's a pretty damning statistic to justify that he's not a shit driver. Then Max also won 10 races, so he got first place in almost half of last year's races, and he amassed a total of 18 podiums out of 21 races, right? So enough already. At the end of the day, Max had to be within reach to win a championship in the final race. So to call him out as being a shit driver is actually pathetic.
Well, it's the luck thing Ev was talking about.
Yeah, that's right. But actually, it was Max's championship to lose based on all those facts, and he just happened to have Lady Luck on his side, Diggs, which is exactly what you just said. You know,
and after there were certainly calls that did go against him throughout the year, and if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have to have relied on that safety car.
Right, let's look at the weekend coming up. We turn our attention to this weekend, which is round 2 of season 22 in Saudi Arabia. You know, pretty lucky to be in the middle of race week again. Thought it would just be worth, before diving into what to expect, a quick catch up on all things Saudi Arabia in when it comes to F1. So this is actually only going to be the second time the Grand Prix has been raced at this track. I touched on that in Haas, you've been paying attention. The first time was last year. Ev quite rightly picked that Lewis went on to win the race. In that same race, however, there were 5 DNFs, so did not finish. So, 5 cars didn't complete the race. There were 2 red flags, 4 virtual safety cars, and 1 actual safety car. All in all, it was just total fucking chaos. It's regarded as the fastest street track, so with an average of 250 kilometers per hour around the entire course. It has the most corners of any track, and unlike last week's Bahrain course, where many corners were slow speed, most of Saudi Arabia's course is actually corners, very fast corners. So based on what we saw last week and what we've discussed today, Ev, Diggs, what can we expect? Who does this type of track suit? And our team's going to be able to get on top of the performance issues to be out there with a fighting chance this weekend.
I'll let Ev talk about who we should expect to see win, because that's more his thing, but I don't know if I'm in the minority here. But I didn't really like Saudi Arabia as a course. Yeah, it was fast, felt incredibly dangerous, and it's just another Middle Eastern track. It's nothing. No, well, what I mean is the Middle Eastern tracks are nighttime in the desert with really nothing around it to look at. Like, it's good to have
They're
a few of them.
They're a bit soulless, aren't they?
I like Bahrain and I like finishing in Abu Dhabi. That's fine, but it's like, it's just another one. It's another one. It's I don't need it. I don't want to watch the black surroundings over a lit up track, especially. And it just, if there's something about that race that I thought was really amazing, I was like, oh, you've got to have that race. I'm like, not really. It was fast. I'll give it that. Just felt a bit dangerous. That's all.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it to Ev to let us know who's gonna take it.
Makes good TV viewing though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Ev. Look, we spoke before about the fact that perhaps the Mercedes engines have too big a mountain to climb back in such a short period. We don't know what's going on with Red Bull. Is this? I know you hate this, but is there a type of car that suits a track better, or can we just wipe that out altogether?
No, that is a real thing. Red Bull traditionally are very good at slow corner tracks, with Mercedes traditionally being very good at fast corner tracks.
Okay.
Which is what makes them quite interesting, competitively speaking. In saying that, Ferrari really didn't put a foot wrong, and they had the speed. So I don't see why they wouldn't be dominating for the foreseeable future until we get back to Europe, until we have a break. There are question marks over reliability for Red Bull if their car can go the distance. If this is a faster track, is that putting more stress on their car than? Yeah, so I'd be going with Ferrari.
Speaking of going with, it's that time of week for Ollie's odds.
Yes.
So for those following closely at home, you'll be excited to know that I picked last week's race winner, Charles Leclerc. I got 3 out of 10 correct. Lewis was off by 1, and we did have 3 retirees. Have I let you down here, boys? Or haven't I? Are you impressed with that?
It's so hard. It's so hard to pick a 10. Like that's an almost like if you did a multi of who's going to come first, second, third, fourth, that would be insanely hard. I think just the fact that you got that win right based on testing was really impressive, and I think if you can keep that up, mate, you'll be working for Sportsbet any day.
All right, so looking at Saudi Arabia, here we go. I'll tell you the top 3 and the mix of the top 10, but if you want actual places, make sure you jump on the socials close to the weekend. So first place, be curious, I'm looking for Ev's reaction here. I think you're actually going to see Max Verstappen here. I think they'll address their reliability issues, and I think they're going to be firing. Quick track, fast corners, which ironically is exactly what Ev said Red Bull aren't regarded for. But, I think it's perfect for his style of racing. May not be best for his type of car and where it's at, but I think you'll see Max Verstappen in first place. I think Charles Leclerc will back up and come in at second. And I'm actually torn between Perez or Sainz at third. However, I'm going to go with Perez here and tipping a big bounce back from Red Bull altogether. Right, last but not least for today, our very own quickfire round. What's Verstappenin? Where at the end of every episode, we'll smash out a couple of the big ticket items we've not touched on or just skimmed across today that's happened and it's probably worth you guys knowing about. Topic number 1, Max number 1 driver. Lewis never took it. FIA report all but suggests they fucked up. Should he be using it?
There should be a fucking asterisk next to that number 1 if he is going to use it, and I think the Game of Thrones put it very well. Anyone who needs to claim that they are king are not.
All right, there you go. Topic number 2. Why do the drivers have fake watches on their gloves?
I have no idea, but it looks great.
What's up with that? I don't get it.
More importantly, who decides and how do they decide what time it is on that fake watch?
Yeah, it's just marketing.
But are they branded?
Yeah, so Mercedes are IWC, Ferrari and McLaren are Richard Mille. Red Bull have Tag Heuer.
There you go.
They've all got someone.
That's a rich person sponsor.
So it's a sponsorship
That
thing.
very much is.
But how do they decide on the time that the watch says? Because obviously it's not a watch. So how do you decide what time it's going to be?
Well, yeah. So typically you display the watch at 10 and 2 because that keeps the hands. It makes the hands symmetrical and out of the way, so that's the most
and of course as
aesthetically pleasing.
And of course, as a driver, always remember you should always have your hands placed firmly at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel.
That's right.
So
there you
on
go,
your rectangle
ladies
steering
and
wheel.
gentlemen. There you go. So you learned something new today. All right, in-helmet camera angles, love it or hate it?
Boo! I don't know whether I hate it more because everyone seems to fucking love it. I don't know. I didn't like it because I think about 15 to 10% of the screen is actual track. The rest is blacked out from the helmet, and there's a few lights you can see blurred on the dashboard. It's awful. And I don't understand why everyone loves it. I want to see just
new
the camera
perspective
above the head. Yeah, it's
Do you hate it, Ev?
pointless.
Do you hate it as much as Digby, Ev?
I think it's a novelty.
Yep. It'll wear thin like most novelties. But just on that, have you guys actually seen the piece flying around of Leclerc battling Verstappen from this point of view? It's pretty great.
Kind of. You can kind of see Max come in for a bit. It's
But
like
how
it
much
doesn't-
his head moves around, like you don't get that from other camera angles,
You
right?
don't,
Like it
but
just
the
shows
fact
you how
that-
busy they are.
The fact that his head is moving around so much makes it really hard to really like relax and concentrate on what's going on. It's like I can't see
It's
everything.
so fucking hard to please.
It's like when you when you play the F1 game. I hate the helmet cam. It's hard to fucking see anything.
Haas boss Gunther claims that they should get some credit for the weekend's result, and when I say they, as in the administration team, for getting Magnussen back. Didn't they fire him?
They did. I don't know if he meant that they deserve credit because they didn't go with...
Fittipaldi?
No, like somebody who's got money, like another Mazepin.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they deserve credit for that.
Yeah, okay.
It's a bit of a rich comment though. Like you said, Ollie, like you fired the guy and now you're bringing him back. Like
I've been a bit perplexed about... Yeah, I've been a bit perplexed about the whole kind of, the Wonder Kid returns and all this sort of shit. And I'm like, but you guys fired him. You made a call to take money over talent. Like
he wasn't good enough, and you put him out to dry because your car was shit. So which is it?
Yeah, or Diggs, I think you mentioned it earlier. Is this actually just pure brilliance from Haas, where they used Mazepin's money to develop the car and then they binned him off and got back the driver that they needed to maximise it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no way Mazepin would have achieved what Haas did on the weekend. All right, and last one. So Carlos Sainz, unhappy with second position. Granted, it might have been more about the hard weekend that he had, rather than whether or not he was able to challenge his teammate Charles for first place. Are these two going to continue to play really nicely in the sand pit, or are we going to see this become a problem moving forward as Ferrari battle it out?
Yeah, it's interesting how Leclerc's everybody loves Leclerc. He's charming, he's young, he's fast. I can see why there might be some tension.
Well, I mean, I don't think I think he had a bad weekend. Maybe he was struggling with the car a bit, but last year we saw him perform as well as Leclerc, so I reckon it could be a fun battle. At the moment, I think Ferrari seem to have the team spirit thing on point at the moment, so I'm hoping it doesn't change. I think it's better for them if they don't fight each other. And Leclerc has never struck me as that kind of driver.
Until something is worth fighting for. So it'll be really interesting. This will be one to watch. All right, that's it for today. Another pot in the can, and hopefully another great listen for all you idiots out there. If you've had a giggle, learned something, been offended, make sure to review, share, and get in touch. Check us out at idiotsoff1.com and on the socials, Twitter, TikTok, Insta, via Idiots of F1. We pump out lots of stuff between pods, so get amongst it. And importantly, on race night, we'll be there chatting live. You want to get involved in the conversation, make sure you hit us up.
That's at Idiots of F1 with the number 1.
Tune in for round 2 kicking off on Friday, and we will see you same time next week when we dive into what's happened and what's coming up. And excitingly, gents, we're going to be talking about Australian Grand Prix next time we get together.
Yes.
So actually on that, anyone out there listening in Australia, we need tickets. We've tried, and we keep missing out. So throw us a bone, would you? We'd love to record live from the Australian GP. Until then, we are your idiots in racing. See you next time.